breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky thing. Popping, lock and stop and let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, Danbury, Connecticut, on this April 4th, Thursday evening, 6 to 6:30. We are here for your sports discussion, so if you want to get in and get a call to the show, the number is 203-792-4101. We got a crew of thousands in here tonight getting the show on the road as we wait for the one-man show, Mike Toohey, to get here. Mr. Pete Green was just in studio helping me out. Bob, my right-hand man, is directing for the time being until Mike gets here. I know Barb Keidel was in there. We got everybody working the set. So thanks to everybody pitching in on this evening. But yes, we are here and we are live. So as I mentioned, the phone lines are open, 203-792-4101. Of course, Bob's show, Spotlight On, is Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, Wednesdays afternoons at 12, and he's got plenty of the Whalers championship run footage for you to see there. So be sure to tune in to him. And Barb Keidel helping out tonight. You can just keep the channel locked right here, and she'll be on at 7:30 this evening, her show These Days. So just keep the channel right here on Channel 23 for all your viewing pleasure. We have plenty of things to get to. Final Four action coming up this weekend. We'll touch on that. NBA, the playoffs are looming, and the Knicks are winning, and they're gearing up for a playoff run. And the NHL trade deadline was yesterday. The Rangers got some immediate dividends, even though they seemed like they were sellers and not buyers. But something good happened for them last night. But baseball season really is where we're going to get things going, as the baseball season is underway. And so far, so good for 2 out of the 3 local teams, although the Mets did lose this afternoon 2-1 to the San Diego Padres, so they do not start the season 3-0 with a 3-game sweep of the San Diego Padres at Citi Field. But 2-1 start for those Metropolitans, pretty good way to get things going, and they're happy about that. Good pitching on these first 3 games, and really one of the more important things I would say is finally some life at the plate besides today. Home runs being hit at Citi Field by the home team, as the Mets got plenty of run support in the first 2 games as they pounded the Padres big time. So it was really a good showing by those Mets as we got things going for them and all their guys getting it done. The new catcher, John Buck, really pitching in well. He even hit a solo home run today in the 9th inning to make things interesting to try to get them in a comeback. And he hit one yesterday. They're going to need more Cowgill. What's up with this kid, Colin Cowgill, hitting a grand slam opening day? So a big showing for him. Ike Davis had a nice bomb yesterday. Everybody's hitting well. Today it was strikeout city for the Mets, as they really could not get anything going against the Padres in the afternoon affair. And they were shut down. 13 strikeouts, I believe they had today. Batters 3 through 6, the heart of the order, had 11 of those strikeouts. So it was not a good performance by the Mets this afternoon, but a 2-1 start. And the Marlins come in to town tomorrow to get things continued here on this opening homestand. And, Miami, not really a good team, off to an 0-2 start. They were playing this afternoon, not sure if they won or lost, but I know they lost their first 2 games of the season. So the Mets really have a chance to start this season right. They got the first 3 games out of the way. 2-1 to start against the Padres. Then they get the Marlins, a team that no one expects to do much this season. So, if they do 2-1 again against the Marlins, a nice 4-2 start before they head on the road, that'd be a good way to go. Maybe they get a sweep. We'll have to wait and see. But they had a great start there by one of their pitchers, all their pitchers really. But Matt Harvey, the young kid, throwing smoke last night. Really pitched well for them. He looked real good. Jonathan Neese on opening day, and even Dylan G really pitched well today, only giving up the one run. Bullpen gave up one of those runs in the 8th inning, I believe. So, the starting pitching has looked good. Sean Markham is hurt to start the season, so we're not sure what's going to happen with him. Things are a little dicey there. We'll see how things go as they move forward with this starting rotation. And the bullpen really hasn't been tested as they were winning big in those first 2 games. So there was no pressure-packed situation, so we'll have to wait and see what this bullpen could do, which has been a big problem for them in recent years. But you got to like what you saw so far. Duda played well. Davis, Calgill, really a nice spark there. Marlon Byrd even pitching in. Jordani Valdespin, John Buck we mentioned, and David Wright as well. So really clutch hitting, a lot of home runs, good way to get things going, even in the cold temperatures last night, bitter cold last night, but they still were able to pound the ball and pound the Padres. So a good thing going there. And across town in the Bronx, things not going so good for their rival, the New York Yankees. And really, I don't know, maybe there was about 5 people at the stadium last night. So fortunately for the Yankees, nobody's coming out to watch them stink up the joint against the hated Red Sox, who came in, with who knows what kind of expectations for those Boston Red Sox after their season a year ago and the collapse of 2 seasons ago. The expectations are down for those new look Red Sox and all their new players. But Jackie Bradley Jr., the new kid, young kid, who had never played above Double-A, he makes the big league roster, and he gets in on the action. And the Red Sox start the season 2-0 against the Yankees, taking that first game against CC, who was only so-so in the Bronx in the afternoon affair Monday. Not looking too good, giving up 4 runs in that 2nd inning, and that was basically all the Red Sox did, as the former Murderers Row, which looks more like Death Row for the Yankees right now. No punch in their lineup with all the injuries they've got. They have not been able to get anything going really offensively. Last night, one of their newcomers, Vernon Wells, tried to make things interesting by hitting a 3-run homer in the 8th inning to pull to within 7-4 against the Red Sox, but that was all they could do, really. And there was nothing more after that, as the power arms of the Red Sox bullpen, which looks to be a strength. We're going to have to find out if it will be or not. But they got Bailey back healthy, who they traded for last year, Oakland's closer of 2 years ago. He was hurt most of the season last year, which really hurt the Red Sox. He's now the setup man for Joel Hanrahan, the Pirates all-star closer last year. Both those guys throwing smoke. Andrew Miller throws smoke. They got some other guys out there throwing. So everybody coming out of the bullpen is looking to throw mid-90s and up. And so far, so good for the Red Sox, as they've had timely hitting. If you think about it, in that first game, the top of the lineup, these guys had 6 at-bats in this game. So you don't really see too often 4 or 5 at-bats maybe in a game for the batting order. But these guys, and last night as well. So, they are turning the lineup over. They're getting timely hitting, 2 out hits, a bunch of them last night. They're going station to station. Guys are scoring from second base easily on infield hits. So the hustle is there right now. And, they're just doing what they can. So, it's a far cry from the past 2 years. If you remember, even though they had the September collapse 2 years ago, and they had the great middle of the season, that was a year in Tito Francona's last season where they started 1-6, I believe. And last year, we know with Bobby Valentine, it was the same way. Bad start for the Red Sox. This year, they are happy to be 2-0, especially when it comes in the house that Aroyd built. And of course, Aroyd trying to steal some headlines by showing up at Yankee Stadium, even though he is on the injured list and he was never to be seen at all, not even part of spring training as he's doing rehab. He tried to get out there and get himself involved in the opening ceremonies, and the Yankees politely said, "Thanks, but no thanks, Aroyd. We don't want to see you get booed," as he's in the middle of another steroid controversy, HGH controversy being investigated by Major League Baseball. The Yankees told him to stay in the clubhouse and not come out on the field during that opening ceremony. So once again, Aroyd who is absent in his play, but still makes headlines anyways and tried to get in the mix. Teixeira did show up. He's in the middle of rehab. Jeter is down there. He did not come up for the opening ceremonies. He's trying to get himself back on the field, and the Yankees need him, but he seems to be a little bit farther away than even he would hope. He was thinking maybe by midweek, next week, early week, he'd be ready to join them when they hit the road, but it does not sound like that is going to happen. So the Yankees really got problems. You know, last night, 7-4, ninth inning, they're looking for a little rally after they got a spark in the eighth inning from Vernon Wells. It's not going to happen when you got, guys like you got Gardner up, you got Savelli up, Ben Francisco up. These are not the murderer's row of the Yankees past. So, not a good situation when you're looking for a rally in the ninth inning and Ben Francisco is your guy that is coming up to bat with runner on, and you're trying to extend this game, get to the Red Sox bullpen. That was not happening at all last night, and they went away quietly and meekly into the cold, bitter night. And as I mentioned, though, fortunately for them, there was really nobody there to see them, because the stadium was a ghost town. It was empty, and that was the way it was at the beginning of the game. Imagine how it was at the end of the game when really nobody was there at all. So, it was just a brutal situation if you're a Yankee fan and you're looking at these crowds and you're saying, what happened to, I remember 2005, the Red Sox had just won the World Series. The rivalry is at its fever pitch. I go to these games, first two games of the season, and the place is packed. It's a mad scene. Crowds going nuts at the old Yankee Stadium. Now, Red Sox Yankees to open the season, nobody's even showing up, and they're leaving early, the few people that are there, as they filed out in droves on opening day. Opening day, they filed out before the game was over. And last night it was much the same. You could hear individual people shouting things out to the crowd. So not a good situation to get things started for the Yankees. One question I have for manager Joe Girardi: why on opening day was Ichiro batting seventh? I couldn't figure that out as far as his lineup. Today, now it looks like they've shuffled their lineup to get things going. Andy Pettit's going to try to be the savior for those Yankees, as they do not want to get swept by the Red Sox to start the season. It would be an absolute catastrophe for them if they go 0-3 to get things going. We know with all the injuries and this lineup that is not scaring anybody. And then last night, Kuroda was the number 2 starter on the season for them, and he got hurt. He had to come out after the second inning as he took a line drive off his hand. And he did not look good even before that happened. He gave up a run in the first. He had guys on base in the second and was in trouble when that happened. He stayed in for a short while longer, gave up another run, and they called it quits for him as they got him out of there. So that was it for him. So overall, things couldn't be better for the Red Sox, but it is obviously very early on, and we will see how this long season plays out. But could you imagine the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees tonight, finishing it against Andy Pettitte, who had big words in the offseason saying the Yankees were still the defending AL East champs until somebody knocks them off. They're the team to beat. He doesn't feel like an underdog, even with the injuries, and everybody's saying that they're not going to be good this year. So, it's time for Andy to go out. It's his turn to take the ball. He's coming back for more after he retired a couple of years ago and then came back. So we'll see if he has it, or we'll see if the Red Sox keep turning this roster over, turning the lineup over, getting a lot of pitches up for the opposing pitchers, and just working that lineup and then getting things going. So we'll see how it goes tonight in the Bronx. Other interesting things in the American League: the Chi Sox off to a 2-0 start. Cleveland, speaking of Tito, Terry Francona in his first year in Cleveland, they're off to a 2-0 start. Good for them. Seattle behind King Felix and that big mega deal he signed there, 2-0. Texas almost got a perfect game in the second game of the season, facing their new interleague rival, formerly of the National League Central, now of the American League West, the Houston Astros, with a payroll that does not even match what Aroyd makes in one season. Yes, I did say that. Aroyd makes more this year himself, and he won't even be playing, than the entire Houston Astros roster. Unbelievable. And they were almost pitched a perfect game against one out away for Yu Darvish and the Texas Rangers in Game 2 of the season, and a base hit straight up the middle through the wickets of Yu Darvish blew that perfect game, but a great start for them. In the National League, it's the Braves and the Nationals picking off where they left off last year, off to good starts, 2-0 for them. The Phillies 0-2 to get things going as they're trying to recover from their missing of the playoffs last season and the down year they had. Not a good start for them. Nothing else really much going on in the other divisions as far as startling starts. So we'll just keep our eye on baseball as it gets going, and we'll see what happens. Let's shift gears to basketball, and just quick touch on the NBA before we get to the Final Four breakdown. The New York Knicks red hot right now, 10 straight. Not many of these games coming against any team of importance. We know they took care of the Celtics twice now with Garnett out, other players out as they are resting and getting ready for the postseason run. The Celtics are. They're just doing what they can to stay in that 7th seed and not much else. The Knicks took care of them. Then they took care of the Heat, who, of course, had their winning streak ended by the Bulls last week. And the Heat then started resting players, so no Bron, no Dwayne Wade, no Chalmers, guys resting, and the Knicks went down there. Melo did happen to drop 50 points in Miami, though, in that game, and then he backed it up last night against the Hawks, who do still have things to play for. So the Hawks game and the Memphis game of last week were the only 2 games of significance out of the 10 that they have won, that the Knicks have looked good. And then Melo backed up his 50-point performance with a 40-point job against Atlanta last night. So Melo is locked in, much the way J.R. Smith was locked in while Melo was hurt and coming back. So now they got that 1-2 punch with Melo and Smith lighting it up, and they are, playing well, much like they played at the beginning of the year, red hot on the offensive end, getting things going. We'll see if they can continue that with 8 games to go. Amazingly enough, this 10-game win streak has done nothing really to distance themselves from the Indiana Pacers and that 2 and 3 seed. There we see right here, surprising, Rajon Rondo was actually practicing a little bit before the game the other night, which was a shock to many as he just recently had the ACL surgery. He is out for the year, but that was a surprise that he was even able to go out and do some warm-ups in the pregame practice there the other night. But the Knicks did not distance themselves at all from Indiana as they are 8-10 in their last 10 games. So the Pacers and the Knicks are still locked in to that 2 and 3 seed as the Knicks are a half a game up on the Pacers. The significance of that is who will you play in that first round. Celtics look to be locked into the 7th seed. A big win last night in Detroit, while Milwaukee lost to Minnesota was a big thing for them as they maintain a 2.5 game lead over the Bucks for that 7th seed. They do not want to fall to that 8 because then they would have to face Miami in the first round. It does not look like they will be able to catch Chicago or Atlanta. Still with 8 games left, it is possible. Slim chances. They're 2.5 behind Atlanta and 3 games in the loss column behind the Bulls for a 6th seed or a 5th seed, which would move them up. The Brooklyn Nets are standing firm in that 4th seed, trying to hold on to home court advantage. As I see Mr. Bob Rowe Jr. walking into the studio, that must mean that Mr. Mike Toohey has arrived. So maybe I'll get to chat with Bob about what's going on here as he mics himself up. That's what's going on. The Brooklyn Nets looking to hold the home court advantage and stay locked into that 4th seed. They are 3 games clear of Atlanta and Chicago, so they look pretty good with 8 to go to be able to do that. And the rest is just jockeying really between the Knicks and the Pacers for that 2 and 3 seed. The Celtics looking to hold on, make sure they don't fall to 8. And that's what's going on. And of course, out west, Bob's favorite topic: will they or will they not, the Fakers, make the playoffs? And they are half a game ahead of Utah right now as the Jazz lost last night to Denver, who has moved all the way up to the 3 seed, Bob. The Nuggets, rich, creamy Nuggets, with their win streak and continued playing well. They are at the 3 seed out west. The Fakers got a big win the other night. We mentioned last week on the show that the D-Mavs were the team to watch as they had suddenly made things interesting. But the Mavericks then went and got pounded by the Pacers. And then on the night that Shaquille O'Neal, as we just saw there, had his jersey retired, they then got a triple-double from Kobe Bryant, Shobi Defiant, and those LA Fakers in a big win against the Mavericks to keep them behind now. So the Mavericks are in a tight spot.
Yes,
it looks more like the Fakers and the Jazz are still the two teams duking it out. I did check out the Fakers' schedule. It's not easy. This thing is not wrapped up, Bob. They are not a lock by any means to make the playoffs. Steve Nash is banged up right now. So they still have some injuries they're dealing with.
Right.
If the Jazz, can win some of these games down the stretch, and they have been winning lately, again, it's not going to be easy for the Fakers to get in. So it is not a lock, but they are, right there in the mix. So that's the basketball story. Let's just quick touch on hockey real quick. The Rangers made a trade.
Yes, they did.
And it paid immediate dividends, although it looked like they were sellers, Bob, getting rid of Gabernick,
yes.
One of their top scorers. And, they need offense as they're ranked dead last in the NHL in offense. They trade for a bunch of defensive guys. What happens? They explode with, 6 goals last night? Talk about catching a team at the right time. The Penguins, who just a few days ago, 15 straight wins, playing perfect hockey. Now the Rangers catch them on back-to-back nights. They're going to get them again tomorrow. And Sidney Crosby is out indefinitely with the broken jaw. Their winning streak has gone by the boards as Buffalo beat them pretty good the other night. Then the Rangers pound them. So the Rangers catching the Penguins at the right time, Bob.
Yeah, it's no love lost for us for you Bruins or us Ranger fans.
No, not at all. I don't mind seeing the Penguins go down.
Right.
Speaking of the Bruins, speaking of the Penguins, speaking of no love lost and the trade deadline.
Yes.
How about this? The Bruins get a little shot of Jaromir Jagr lining up with the Boston Bruins as they trade for the Dallas Stars. Jaromir Jagr will be making his debut tonight with the Boston Bruins against the New Jersey Devils. Unbelievable. Never thought I would see that happen. And Jagr still has 11 goals on the season, so he's still a contributing offensive factor. In my opinion, one of the greatest players of all time.
Yes,
really.
he is.
So I will welcome Jagr to the Boston Bruins with open arms. I might have to do a few shots of Jägermeister tonight, just in honor.
Yeah, okay.
I'll have to dip into the freezer, see if that bottle of Jaeger is still chilled, and we'll see if he can score some goals as the Bruins try to get their offense pumped up a little bit. As they have had some struggles offensively, not as much as the Rangers, but some. So this is going to be a boost for the Bruins. And here we go, though, with the standings, Bob. Big win by the Rangers last night pulls them back into a 3-way tie with the Islanders, who had moved ahead, as a matter of fact, before last night. 3-way tie, Rangers, Devils, Islanders for those final 2 spots in the postseason. So it's going to be a crazy final 10, 12 games coming down in the season. The Rangers and the Devils have 12 games each. The Islanders have 11 games left.
Right.
So we'll see what happens in the rearview mirror. The Capitals, 3 points behind them, and the Flyers, no love lost there either, are 4 points out. So things are a little tight in those Eastern Conference standings, and that's what's happening in the hockey world. Also in hockey, let's shift gears to college because we're going to wrap this up with Final Four activity. But the Frozen Four, as Quinnipiac, the number 1 seed, advances. They had a scare there the other day as they almost blew it, down 3-1 in a big rally against Canisius, and then they won their next game, so they advanced to that Frozen Four. Final Four, Bob, Louisville making their final run.
But that was a very
brutal injury. Thankfully, this kid is already recovering, and he's done interviews since then. Just one of the worst injuries you'll ever see in a sporting event. Really reminiscent of Joe Theismann.
Yes.
As he went down, combine fracture, exposed bone through the skin. You never want to see that ever. And it was brutal. And the players' reaction to it, breaking down in tears immediately as they saw this injury take place. You know, it was really brutal. But thankfully, they come through with the pounding.
Yes.
Down goes Duke, 85-63. And here we see some other players in tears on the ladies' side. Baylor with a shocking upset at the hands of Louisville.
Grimes goes down.
Louisville women shocking Baylor. Brittany Grimes ends her career. You know, they thought they were going to get back-to-back championships. That opens things up nicely for the Lady Huskies.
Oh, yes,
They're going to have to get by their own personal nemesis, however, the Notre Dame Lady Fighting Irish. As they match up Sunday evening, and they have not been able to beat the Irish 7 of the last 8, I believe. The last game of the regular season, of course, the Big East Championship. So that's what's happening on the ladies' side. But Louisville advances. They're looking to get their first championship since the Purvis Ellis, Denny Crum days when they got 2 in the mid-'80s, 87 the last time. And Rick Pitino becomes the first coach. Remember in those mid-'80s, he was bringing Providence, then Kentucky, now Louisville twice.
Right.
First coach, one of the few coaches ever to bring in 4 teams in 4 different decades to the Final Four. But he's trying to come through for Louisville with the championship, and they look very good. And they are facing the shocking shockers, Bob, Wichita State. A little trivia as we are running out of time. When was the last time a team from the Missouri Valley Conference had a team playing in the Final Four? I'll give you a clue.
Was it over 20 years?
It was the greatest, most watched college basketball game in the history of college basketball, and it launched one of the greatest rivalries in the history of the NBA on an individual player-to-player basis. Those are your clues.
I have that.
1979.
Wow.
Indiana State, Larry Legend Bird, and the Indiana State from the Missouri Valley brought their way, and of course played against Michigan and Magic Johnson, and the rest is history. Wichita State advancing by beating Ohio State. And Wichita State, watch out for these guys. They look good. They're going to give Louisville a handful. On the other side, it's Fab 5 time.
Yeah.
Michigan, watch out, the Wolverines back for the first time since they were there when they really weren't there, because those games were vacated because of C-Web's infractions and Michigan's infractions. But they're looking to win their second championship, and they look very good, and they're going against, of course, the hated orange redcoats, traitors, Syracuse, Jim Boeheim's boys, as they have looked very good. Marquette, 39 points, Bob, in that Elite 8 game. Unbelievable. What a pathetic performance.
Does your bracket look good or no?
That 2-3 zone by Syracuse. Jim Boeheim says it's his best ever defense right now, and they're playing very well. My bracket has been blown up. I have Louisville as the champion, but I have nothing else going on, so I'm way down in the standings. I've been that way for a while. It's going to be interesting. We actually are off for the next 2 weeks, unfortunately. So by the time we get back, there'll be a national champion. Basketball and hockey playoffs will just be getting underway. And baseball, we'll see. Maybe the Yankees will have won a game.
And the Mets will still stay in first place.
Maybe the Mets will be in first place. We'll see what the Red Sox do. If they can continue to look good. Shane Victorino and the boys, all these gritty, gutty players they brought in with character, helping us out. All right, well, enjoy the championship this weekend, and we'll see you when we return in a couple weeks.